Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the patience and the accommodation. Hello to the witnesses. Apologize for the delay. I was presiding in the Senate. A vote just opened, but I'm back here now as a proud member of this committee for this timely and important hearing. Now, there is one point in which the majority in the United States and I fully agree, Mr. Chair. The criminal trial of a former president for attempting to disrupt the peaceful transition of power is a matter of, quote, lasting significance. That was in the ruling. Couldn't agree more. I also agreed with the Chief Justice that the court's focus in deciding the case ought to have been, quote, the enduring consequences upon the balanced power structure of our republic. Unfortunately, for our democracy, it was not. Instead, the court's majority was satisfied with inventing a new form of presidential criminal immunity so sweeping that the court declined to designate a single action that Donald Trump took in the lead up to the January 6th riot at the Capitol as, quote, unofficial. And in doing so, the court undermined a core principle of our government, that the president, as Alexander Hamilton put it, is, quote, amenable to personal punishment, and not a king who is, quote, sacred and inviolable. Where the majority fears that the dissenting justices were, quote, content to leave the preservation of our system of separated powers up to the good faith of prosecutors, end quote, I am far more troubled that the court's right-wing majority that now left that task to the good faith of convicted criminals like Donald Trump. Let's be clear. The court's decision to effectively let Trump off the hook has already caused devastating harm for our country, especially to voters and election workers. Trump has essentially been given a pass for weaponizing the Department of Justice to bully states into drumming up false election fraud charges, for his attempts to pressure Vice President Pence into helping him steal the election, and for inciting a violent mob to storm the Capitol on January 6th. And we're continuing to see the fallout. Texas law enforcement, fueled by Trump's false election fraud claims, has harassed Latino voting rights activists, candidates, and even sitting elected officials. In the state of Florida, law enforcement has targeted individuals who signed a petition for a constitutional amendment to protect reproductive rights. And across the country, there has been a surge in abusive public records requests aimed at election offices. We're even seeing naturalized United States citizens who are eligible voters being stripped from voter rolls without due process. The actors behind these examples clearly feel untouchable. And former President Trump, the leader of the big lie and fake voter fraud movement, has been granted impunity by the very justices he helped install on the court. So that begs the question, what will the next president get away with this newly established immunity? I know I've spoken, I know the hearing's gone long, and I appreciate the patience, but a few quick questions for Ms. McCord with the limited time that I have left. I want to ask a few simple yes or no questions about hypothetical but not far-fetched scenarios. If a future president were to order the Department of Justice to cease investigating their spouse, their child, or themselves for alleged criminal conduct, would that be an official act?
It would appear that under the court's ruling, yes, that would be immune, actually even more than official act as core constitutional powers.
Because the president directs the executive branch. Scenario number 2, if a future president were to direct the armed services to attack the home of a political rival, would that be an official act?
I think that is one of the questions the court leaves open for us. If his own...
The fact that it's not a clear no is the problem, because the president is the commander-in-chief. Like, Mr. Chair, I can go on and on with example after example that should alarm us and the American people. But I will conclude by just acknowledging this. It's particularly auspicious that this committee is meeting today to examine this wildly consequential and wildly unprecedented decision. 235 years to the day since the Supreme Court was established by an act of Congress. So, in closing, I'll just echo Justice Sotomayor's powerful words. Every president in our history has governed with the understanding shared by the American people that they could be held accountable for crimes committed while in office. And with that no longer the case, I share her fear for our democracy, and I stand firmly with the spirit of her dissent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Padilla, and thank you to the witnesses. We appreciate your being here today. The committee meeting stands adjourned.